Hello and welcome to Crusader Kings 2 tutorial by Enigmatic Rose 4. This is on the character info sheet, which if you remember from our overview of the UI, you can find by clicking on your face up here. Or if you don't want to click on your face and you want to use keyboard shortcuts, you can hit the F2 button and it will pop it up. Alright, so this is your character sheet. And if we take a look, we can see all sorts of useful information. Up here we have our religion. It tells us how strong is our religion. It tells us what our religion can do. It's the same information that you get up here on the features button. The same goes for your government type here. It's the same information that you can find in here. This is just available in a little tooltip if you want to quickly check it and not open a whole nother page. So these two buttons lead to your dynasty tree. They tell you who is in your dynasty. How strong is your dynasty? How many people are dead? How many total members? How many people are alive? How much prestige does your dynasty have? And if we left click, we can move around the whole thing. You can also make it bigger and take up the full screen. But if you right click, you can just easily move around inside. Right click and move. You can go to the head of your dynasty, which is us. You can click here and go to the founder. Who started the dynasty? You can filter and do things like only the people who are alive, and it'll lead down to them. Oh, I didn't mean to click there. I'm sorry. You can see who's only landed. You can see who's filter a childless woman. And a tree legend. You can also customize your house image. As long as you're on Iron Man. I don't believe you can do that on Iron Man. That's very cool. Alright, so next up we have our family tree, which, you can see who's your direct ancestor. It only goes so far. Who are your direct children? It gets a little confusing when you have more than, 5 kids. But it's very nice looking. Next up we have our realm tree. This is not who's related to you. This is who is in your realm, how much troops they have, how strong they are compared to you, how much money they make, or how much money they give you, I should say, how many holdings they have, who is under them, what is their opinion of you. And of course you can hover over anything. It will give you more information from the awesome tooltips. Alright. We're going to take a look here next. This is your culture. So your religion and your culture, which we of course saw from the different map screens. Your religion and then our culture. Alright. Here's your ambition. These change over time, but each ambition gives you a bonus of some sort if you fulfill it. If you hover over them, they will tell you what they do. So like this one gives you more fertility. And you want to become the king of Brittany. You want to become exalted among men. It's all sorts. You just select whichever one you want. I suppose we want to have more babies, so we're going to say we want to groom an heir. And it gives you a pop-up warning like, hey, once you pick this, you cannot change it. Well, actually, you can change it, but not until a certain time, and then after you change it, you cannot select another ambition for another number of years. Alright, this other button here is to choose a focus. Now, if you look, these focuses, the colors are tied to your stats right here. Let's start here. Blue being diplomacy, red being martial, green being stewardship, purple being intrigue, and white being learning. Now, if you are colorblind, then you would just have to look at the symbols and know which one. And you can also hover over them, and they tell you what stat they give. Like seduction gives intrigue +2, so it has to do with intrigue. Or carousing gives diplomacy +3, and there's diplomacy. Alright, so each of these does different things. They are all awesome, and I will go over them more in greater detail later, because we will also talk about the children focuses, because if we look at our bastard son here, on his choosing a focus, they are different, and there's no intrigue color as well. So we will talk about that later. Alright, so coming below that, we have our stats. These right here shows what the stat is for, and they tell you what they give you. So our state intrigue, it helps with assassinations. This gives our tax modifier. Martial is a land organization. Monthly prestige for diplomacy. Monthly piety for learning. And this first stat here is our individual stat. This is affected by our traits and by our base stats. And if we have anything in our treasury, which we do not at the moment, it is affected by things in our treasury. If you hover over them, you can see exactly how we reach 0 diplomacy. We have a base of 2, which is just, what we randomly got as we were growing up. Naive appeaser gives us +1, but then we are slothful, greedy, and paranoid. And all of them give us a -1 diplomacy. Slothful is very terrible, as you can see, because it gives us all minuses all over the place. While greedy gives us more money but less diplomacy, and paranoid gives us more intrigue but less diplomacy. So, we're kind of intriguing, but we're not very diplomatic or good at managing money. Alright, and then right here, these are our state levels. So this is yours combined with your counselor, 15. And if we got married, then it would take half of our spouse's diplomacy as well. And this state level, this is what actually manages with your realm, and this is what actually helps with managing people and all sorts of things. So that's how, with our state diplomacy, we're still actually making prestige every month, even though we have 0 diplomacy, is because we have 15 state diplomacy. So that's those, and your traits affect things. The different traits do different things. You hover over each one to see what it does. Like brave is a very nice trait. The only people that don't like brave are the cowards, the craven people. Alright, so we're going to scooch over here now. This is your domain size. It tells you how many counties are in your realm, what is your realm size, how many you can hold. This is based on your stewardship and your rules of succession. So telling who gets to be king next. And it also has to do with what is your highest title. We can only hold 1 because our stewardship is the worst. It is the same thing that we looked at up here. This is just individual. So you can go and you can click on another character and you can see what their domain size is. Because of course you can't see this part on another character. Alright. Next up is our vassal limit. How many vassals can you hold? This is based on your laws, and it's also based on your diplomacy to a point. Though this does not say it, it's also true. This is how many people you can have directly under you. This is, of course, the same thing we looked at here. It is just forcing you to eventually give away more land. You can't be in charge of every single individual count. You have to give away those duchies and kingdoms. Next up, this is your army size. So this tells you how do you get all your troops. We have 1,503 troops. And if we hover, that's how you see it visible, but if we hover over it, we also see how many boats we have. This is useful for going to war. Before you ever go to war with someone in this game, you come and you see how many troops they have. Because you may think, oh, he's only got 1 county, I can beat him up, and then you look, he's got 689, and for some reason you're down to 300 because you lost all your troops. You are going to lose most likely. It takes some very, very cool shenanigans to win, because more troops are more better. So that's something to pay attention to. Alright, so coming back to ourselves, this tells you how much money we have and what is our monthly balance. Of course, you're not going to look here too often. You're usually going to look up here. The same for prestige and piety. Everything here, except for the army levies, is typically stuff that you're going to look at with other people. Like how much money does he have? How much prestige? How much piety? Money might have to do with, oh, this man's being very bad. I can imprison him. Do I want to imprison him and take all his money? Yeah, I do. Cool, because he's got 47 ducats. That's a nice amount to us. So that's what these are. If we come down here, we have our different traits. They can stack up. They look very different for anyone. Purple hearts like this are the negative congenital traits. There's the different educations that you get when you turn older. You can see kids sometimes have no traits. we come to our, oh, let's go to our son. Our son has some, including the fact that he's a bastard, which mine is diplomacy. And that's all very interesting. But these you kind of have to play. And let's say you have an event pop up that says something like may lead to ambitious, but for some reason it doesn't actually show the ambitious trait for you to hover over to see what it does. You can always come down to the Find Characters screen and you can come here and you can type ambitious and you will find anyone with ambitious and you can hover over the trait and it will tell you what it does. This is especially useful for the childhood traits because they don't all, it'll just say something like may lead to brooding and you're like, what is brooding? Let's see, what is brooding? Oh, there's brooding. It can develop into just, wroth, or envious. Well, what does just do? I don't know. Let's see what just does. We type it in. Oh, there's just. Now you, of course, can have the wiki open and you can be looking through that, but this lets you do it in the game, and it doesn't take up any more time than it would be to go check the wiki. Alright, and speaking of the wiki, we're going to scooch up here into this button, and this opens a browser to the Wikipedia page for this character, if this is a real historical character, which I believe this one is, and if I click there you can't see it, but it does open up a brand new Wikipedia page to Conan II, Duke of Brittany, who was born in 1033, and he was became Duke in 1040, and he died in December 11th, 1066. So if we're going by real life, he died in less than a month. I doubt he's going to die in less than a month in this game, so of course everything will be inaccurate in terms of historical history. Alright, but let's come on down. And we can go to, this is our combat modifier. Not every character has this shield. She does because she has something that modifies it, but some people don't. Where's someone who doesn't? I'm not sure. Well, there's our dead father doesn't, but you'd see he has no shield. These tell you if you have any positive or negative modifiers. This has to do with you leading troops. The percentages there: morale, defense, brave, martial influence. The personal combat skills down below has to do with bravery, because if you are war focused, you can duel people. Bravery, not bravery. Your war focus, you can duel people, and you have a higher chance of winning if your personal combat skill is higher than theirs. Alright, so that's all of those. We're going to hop over here, and this button is very important. This button makes you forbidden to lead armies, because if we come here and we raise up our troops, and we look at our troops, we are leading the army. Now, that's not too bad. We have positive combat modifier, and we have 9 martial. We're not too bad, but we probably, we don't have an actual true heir to our dynasty, because our sister would inherit and her sons are not our family. So we probably don't want to lead troops and risk dying right now. So if we do that, we would click here and we would be forbidden to lead armies. And this you can do for any character of your, well, you can do it for them, and you can also do it for your council members. One thing to know though is, let's put ourselves back in charge, there we go, is we have this. Conan is leading troops in Rozan. So if you click this, it will take you to wherever you are leading troops. So if someone is attacking you and you want to know where they are, then you would just come down here to the war button that we will look at later. You click that, you click their head, you click the little sword, and it zooms you over to wherever they are in the world. So you don't have to actually search for it, which is nice. Alright, so that's that. Let's put our troops down. Goodbye, armies. Okay. Right here, this is going to the Barber. This is a DLC pack, so if you don't have it, well, you can't really do much with it. But you can change your hair color, you can change your beard. Sure, that looks a little better. Not much, but it looks a little better. Alright, so that's you. This is your top tier title. So if you click that, we open to this page that we have discussed a little bit, and we'll discuss more later. Alright, under that we have our treasury. We actually don't have anything in our treasury at the moment, but our treasury items can be permanent or temporary, and they give different boosts and stats. We can always do things to add to our treasury. You can hire a smith to make you weapons and armor, or you can find random things. You can write books. It's a very nice little thing they added to the game. But then here we go, we're back to our face, and this is our heir, who is our sister. If we click on her head, then we go to her character page. We see who she's married to. She's in a regular marriage. Her sons do not have little blood drops next to them, so they are not part of our dynasty. So we are in big trouble if she inherits. Because we go here and we see this little blood drop, like for our father. This means that they're a part of our dynasty, and we can check by the family name. If our sister inherits and does not manage to get rid of her children and her husband and marry properly, well, then our title will pass out of our family line, and it will be pretty much game over for us. All right. So we can also come here. You see we have no wife. We can click here and we can arrange a marriage. This gives us, these are the most likely choices for us to get married to. But if none of them look good, we can always go into the character finder and pick someone that we would prefer. Some people will get married to you. One thing to do when you want to get married, though, is do diplomatic range. Yes, otherwise you will be trying to marry people that are way too far away, and it will be a waste of time, and you'll get excited about that, 16-year-old strong genius, and then you can't even talk to her because she lives too far away. So this is getting married. We'll talk about that some more later. And then under that, we have, these are our current titles. It always starts with the highest tier and then works all the way down to the lowest tier. So you see we have the Petty Kingdom, which is our Duke level title, and it takes us back to this page. But if we come here and we click, we get the County of Rosan, which is just here. That is our actual landed title because the duchy has no lands that go with it. And under our titles, we have our claims. We have a strong claim on the Duchy of Normandy over here. There's William the Bastard, but apparently we are related to him somehow, and we got a strong claim on his dynasty. I'm not really sure how, but I'm sure it had something. Nope, it didn't have to do with our mother. Nope, I'm not sure who we inherited it from, but we did inherit it from someone. Alright, and then under here we see diplomacy. So if we click on someone else like the Duke of Normandy here, we can see that he's at war and that he's hostile towards someone. The yellow flag means hostile, the red flag means at war. There can be other ones. There's one of someone bowing if you're a tributary. There's the peace symbol, there's defensive pacts. We'll look at them later. But that's all of them. All the diplomacy would be here. And then we come down here into the different tabs. So this is your family tab, fairly simple. Those are your parents, those are your grandparents. If you're training any children, then it would show there. If we click here, we're really his educator, but I don't know why we're not down as he's not down as our ward. But if we do this, there we go. Now he's our ward. We're directly training him. You can do things like ask your vassals to train their troops, or train their troops, train their children. And then under that we see our siblings. The little skull icon means they're dead. You can hover over it and it tells you when they died. Died a natural death at age 14. Ow. The little black blood drop here on our son means he's a bastard. We can always choose to legitimize him if we had enough piety, which is another thing you can do. You can always right click on your own portrait and you can do different things depending on the character, or you can right click on any portrait and you get different options. You can also do things like go to location, so you can zoom to wherever they are. You can toggle special interest so that their name appears over here so you can find them again. And you can explore character opinions. You can see what people think of them. And you can see how threatening they are, which we'll talk about threatening and defensive pacts later. Alright, so there's your family. You go here, you get other relations. Who are your friends? Who are your rivals? Who are your lovers? We have no lovers. Very sad, I know. And who are you tied to by marriage? So these are different people you're related to by some sort of marriage. Like he's married to your sister. So you're tied to him. He's the brother of the man married to your sister. So he's also a marriage tie. And then we come to our vassals. Our vassals, we can sort these by rank, we can sort these by name, tax. Probably the most useful thing you'll do here is sort them by opinion. You can see who's unhappy with you, you can hover over, and you can see why and maybe try and fix it. You can also see how much money. Here you see our religious man. He likes the Pope 45, he likes us 7, so he's giving all of his money to the Pope. And he makes 18 ducats a year. That's unacceptable. So you can, try and make him like you more through different things, but he's giving away his money, which is not what we want, but it's what's happening at the moment. And then here's your court. So the vassals are only the landed titles. The people in your court are the people who are actually living here in Rosan with you. They can be family members, they can be other things. The court and the vassals, these are the people you can pull from when you're doing things like making counselors or commanders. All right. And they don't pay tax, but you can still click on that. See, because we can see Mr. Pope, this religious man's opinion of the Pope. And you can see their opinion of us. This guy doesn't like us. He's a title claimant. I think he's a bastard kinsman, related to us somehow. He's the brother of our grandfather. And yeah. So there's our court. Here's pacts. If we have any pacts through marriage, like here, or through random events, here's our non-aggression pact with our vassal, who is married to our sister. It's not a big deal because he's in our kingdom, but if we married if we betrothed ourselves to this princess of France, we would get a non-aggression pact with France, which would probably be a smart idea, considering we're a little tiny thing on their border. Alright, and then the last one has to do with abroad. We don't have anyone abroad, but if we do send someone abroad, then they will show up here. One last thing to talk about up here is our naming list. This is your name. It starts with your title, your name, and then whatever your family naming system goes. This is ours. And then right here we have our age. We are 33. We hover over it. We can see when we were born. This is rather important when you're playing as a child and you're like, okay, when do I turn 16? I turn 16 on March 17th. Okay, come on March 17th. Let's go. I want to get rid of this regency. We'll talk about regencies later. But that's it. This is pretty much the entire character page. I know this was a little long video, but there's a lot of information in here. If you have any questions at all, please ask them down in the comment section below, and I will be happy to answer them. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Y'all have a good day. Bye.